Hi buddies, welcome back to my channel. It's a baby girl again, as you already know, Oshine Adiola. How are you guys doing? Hope you guys are doing very well. On this tutorial, as you can see in the thumbnail, you guys already know what we are making. We are actually making 3 types of back corsets. They are actually common corsets that we fashion designers add to our back wears. So just stay tuned as we do this together. So for those of you that don't know what this paper is, I already cut out the front already, and this is the back. As you can see in the displayed picture, the arrowed part, the first arrowed part, that's the yoke. So some people use skin net, some people use their fabric and every other thing. And the second arrow part, as you can see, that is the particular part I'm working on. So for just clarification's sake, I already removed the yoke part. Okay, so this is the remaining back that we have now. Okay, so this is me trying to label. So that's the up, down, the loops and the side. So I just labeled it so it doesn't get confused along the line. Now the first one we are doing is the back corset without illusion or contouring design. Okay, so we are making it plain, as you can see. So this is me trying to fold my fabric into 2. Then after folding it into 2, I pressed it. I gave it a nice press. Then after giving it a nice press, I kept my pattern on it and I added allowance to all the sides. Okay, earlier we actually labeled the up, down and side and the loop side. Now by the loop side, you can add 2 inches to the loop allowance, and the down part you can add 2 inches to the down part. The side you can add at least 2.5 inches to the side, and the up side you add 1 inch allowance. So let me repeat that again. The loop side you add 2 inches, the down side you add 2 inches, the side, which is going to be where you'll be joining the back and the front together, you can make it 2.5 inches for the allowance, and the upper side of the back pattern you can add just 1 inch. Okay, so I just hope that is very clear. After that, you can now cut it out. As you can see in the video, I'm just trying to cut it out after I already kept the allowance around it. And please note, this particular brown fabric is the lining, so we have 2 lining already now that we're using for just one side of the back, right? And after cutting it out, you can now duplicate it on your ashrebi. As for me, I decided to use a sequence fabric. Okay, and for the lining also, which I used this brown fabric, you can actually use just 1 lining, but for me I decided to use 2 lining because I actually wanted like a thick texture, and I just like to double my own lining basically. Okay, so after doing that, you can now take it to your machine and stitch. But before then, due to the fact that I'm using 2 lining, one is going to be facing the wrong side of the sequence and the other one is going to be facing the right side of the sequence. Then you cannot take it to your machine and stitch, as you can see what I'm doing in the video. Now the basic part you are stitching is the down part, the loop side and the up side. You are not going to stitch the side of the ashrebi at all. Again, you're actually stitching the down side, the loop side and the upper part of your ashrebi. Then after that, you can now turn it and take it back to your cutting table and give it a nice press. As you can see in the video, I'm just trying to take my time to press it to just make the sharp edges come out very well. Do you understand? Because this part is actually very important also because of the boning you'll be putting inside. Okay, so after that, I just decided to go and measure 2 inches. As you can see, by the loop side I measured 2 inches all the way from the down part to the up part. I measured 2 inches. Then after measuring the 2 inches, then I decided to put in my boning inside it. It's going to be inside the clothes. When you put your boning inside, then you take it to your machine and use your zipper foot to sew it inside. As you can see, I've taken it back to my sewing machine, but at the moment I do not want to actually waste too much of boning because I don't really have much in the store. Okay, so that is why I'm just showing you this step. So let's assume that the boning is already inside the clothes, then you stitch it inside it. Do you understand? After that, you just go for like 3-4 inch away from the boning. As you can see what I'm doing, I just did like 3-4 inch. That's like, it's not going to be up to 1 inch of your sewing. The 3/4 space is actually for your eyelet. That is where we'll be inserting our eyelets when we are done with the back. Okay, then after doing that, you will now put in another boning inside it. You put another boning inside it and lock it inside the fabric like you did for the first boning. Okay, and you can also get the boning that you can always stitch on it. I just like using this polyester boning because it is actually very thick. Do you understand? Like, it's thicker than the normal boning that we get to stitch on. And after putting your second boning, as you can see, this is what the front actually looks like. Then you can now put in your eyelet inside the fabric. It could be 10, it could be 9, depending on how many can fit inside the back loops. Okay, now for the second one, as you can see in the displayed picture on the screen, the second one, this is how you go about it. So like we did earlier for the back corset, we already labeled the up, the loop side, the down side, and the side. Okay, now this time around we need this particular corset design. As you can see in the displayed picture, this back design is going to be a plain fabric attached to your asoebi fabric. Okay, so what you are going to do is to measure in by the loop side. You go in by 2 inches or by 2.5 inches, depending on how you can manage your fabric or your material. Okay, so you go in by 2 inches. It is either 2 inches or 2.5, depending on how you can actually manage your fabric. So I'm just doing the 2.5 just for beginners. Okay, because you actually need a lot of allowance in case you make mistake. You can always adjust it and not cut another fabric again. For beginners only, I'm just giving this idea or this knowledge for beginners only. So after doing that, I already cut out the two lining. And I'm about to cut out the loop side that we actually need. As you can see, I actually used my tape rule to actually check the measurements that is on the first cloth, and the measurement on the cloth is actually 14.5. Now if we are cutting our loop, we'll not be using the exact 14.5 to get our loop. We'll be deducting 1 inch or 1.5 inches away from the the first cloth. Okay, now this is 14.5. when we remove 1.5, it will actually give us 13 inches. So the main measurement we are using for our loop is actually 13 inches. Please don't forget to always put your sign, maybe an arrow sign, or you write the down, up, side, that kind of thing, please, so that you'll be able to know the difference between the up and the down and the side, because at the end they get to look alike. Okay, now after getting your loop inches, which is 13 inches, then you can now add in your allowance. As you can see in the video, I'm adding my allowance. I actually added 1 inch allowance, but you can add beyond that. It could be 2 inches also, depending on how many inches allowance you want. Then after that, you can now cut it out smoothly. Then after cutting out the loop that you need, then you use your inner to cut out the face, the sequence facing that you'll be using for the coverage, as you can see in the video. And I said it earlier that I actually like to double my lining. So you use the wrong side on the good side of the sequence and the right side on the wrong side of the sequence. After that, you can now take your loop cloth that you already cut out to your sewing machine and stitch the upside and the down part. And after that, you turn it around and give it a nice press, give it a smooth nice press. As you can see in the video, I'm turning it around, and after turning it around, I will use my iron to press it smoothly. Okay, and you can also always put stay inside your fabric. This is just a random tutorial. If I'm actually making it for a client, I will always put stay inside my lining, and also put, sometimes if the fabric is not transparent, if the asoebi fabric is not transparent, I can also put stay on it also. Now after that, this is me trying to like use my tape rule to measure 2 inches in, because these 2 inches will be for the boning, the eyelet, and the second boning. And as you can see in the video, you can see how I'm putting the boning inside like I did earlier for the other, you know, back corset. You just put the boning inside it and take it to your machine and use your, you know, zip foot to stitch it and lock it inside. Do you understand? Then after locking the first one inside, then you measure 3/4 away from the first boning. Do you understand? You measure 3/4 away from the first boning and do a long stitch on it after the 3/4 inch. As you can see what I'm doing, I'm using my tape rule to measure and stitch. You can also chalk it before you stitch it. Do you understand? You can always chalk it before you stitch. Then after stitching this, you can now put in your second boning. Do you understand? You can now put in your second boning and also lock it in like we did in the first, you know, video earlier. Now after doing that, then you can now bring up your sequence fabric. Do you understand? Then you stitch up the upper part of the fabric and, you know, put in your loop inside. As you can see the placement, you can see the way I'm placing the, you know, the loop inside. You know, the stitching should just be very close to the second loop. So you take your time and arrange it inside and cover it up and stitch. So you can also use your zip foot to also lock it in. As you can see in this video, you can also use your, you know, your zip foot. If the boning is inside, you can use your zip foot. Like the aim of the zip foot is just for it not to break your needle, because if you are using this two-faced foot, it can actually like break your needle when your boning is actually inside, because that polyester boning is actually like very thick and it can actually break your needle. Okay, so as you can see, after stitching the up and down of it, you can see I did locked the loop inside it. Then you turn it to the right side and take it back to your cutting table and press it. Give it a nice press, as you can see in this video. Now this colored thread is just for me to be able to like differentiate and for you guys to be able to see the stitching like very well. So please always use your matching colored thread. Now out of these two, which one do you like? For me, I actually prefer the one with the two colors. I actually do not like the plain one, so I'm just teaching you the tutorial just for, you know, anyone you want to do, you can always do it. Do you understand? So this is the aftermath of everything, and you know, I also created the loop O. Then after creating the loop O, you can now like add in your eyelets inside it. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now this third one is for those of you that your client doesn't want like their back to be visible at all, so they want like a coverage for the back. Okay, so please, my camera is just trying to like, you know, balance up. So after folding my fabric into two, I measured my loop. After measuring the loop length, I used the measurement to get my, you know, back coverage. And you know, like I said earlier, that putting stay also like gives it a unique look entirely. Okay, so this is me trying to put in my stay on the, you know, back coverage after the measurement. Now after getting the normal full measurement of the loop, which is 14 inches, okay, so how do you get the normal, you know, coverage measurement? So what you will do is your bust size measurement divided by 4. Do you understand? That is, if your bust is 40 inches, right, 40 divided by 4 will give you 10. Then after getting your 10 inches, if you're making for a bigger size from like size 12 upward, you can now add 4 inches to the 10 inches. That makes it 14 inches. Then you can now add another extra 1 inch for the sewing allowance. That makes it 15 inches. I just hope you guys understood what I just explained. Okay, so after doing that, you take it to your machine and stitch. So after doing that, then you take it back to your table and turn it to the right side and give it a nice press like we always do. Please press it very well. Okay, so you know, like I said earlier, that if you're doing for like a bigger size from size 12 upward, for me, my client's body size here is actually a size 12 body size, so that is why I used 15 inches. Okay, but if you're doing like a size 6 to like size 10, you can do, for example, if the bust is actually 32 inches, you can divide 32 by 4, which is going to give you 8, and 8 plus 4 will give you 12 inches. Okay, then you can also add 1 inch allowance to make it 13. Please buddies, if you don't understand any of this section, always drop in the comment section and I will explain better for you by typing. Do you understand? Just always drop in the comment section and I will explain for you better. So after doing the normal pressing, you can see how smooth the pressing is giving. You can see I kept the loop on the back coverage, and after doing that, I'm just trying to like pass in my clothes, my back coverage inside the fabric, and also putting my loop inside the fabric also smoothly. You just arrange it carefully because of the boning that is already attached to it. Then you take it to your machine and stitch. Please take your time here so you don't make any mistake. We are just trying to be professional basically, okay? So just take your time and do your thing smoothly. Do you understand? Like things like this just gives like your work really, you know, good look. Okay, so after that, just notch out the excess fabric parts, trim them off smoothly. You trim them smoothly, then you can now turn it to the right side, then take it back to your cutting table and give it a nice press when you're done turning it, as you can see what I'm doing in the video. Okay, and after giving it a nice press, this is what it actually looks like at the end. As you can see, it's neatly sewed inside the, you know, fabric. I just hope this tutorial is very helpful to an extent. Do you understand? So you can actually do this face in the other side also, depending on what you want. You can do the right sequence on this side and just remove this, you know, plain part of the loop. Okay, and you can also leave it the other way also. Any way is fine, literally. So this is me after I'm done. I'm just going to like attach the front to the back, as you can see. So I'm just going to join it together, and when I'm done, I can now like add the loops, like the eyelet loops inside the loop area. Okay, and that's literally the end of this tutorial, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video to an extent. This video might be a bit complicated, but just take your time to like, you know, follow the video accordingly. So thank you buddies for watching this tutorial, and I will see you guys in my next video. Please like, share, subscribe, and I love you buddies. Bye.